And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 414. So I hope you guys had a great day. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with Slav's Free Talk. And this is going to be his first appearance on the show. So nice to meet you, man. Good morning. And how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for asking me to be here. It's great to spread my wings and get on some other shows.
Yeah. What was that song? I think it was Kelly Clarkson. I'll spread my wings and learn how to fly. So essentially, you're a white lady.
Oh boy.
Good Lord. But it's always good to have, conversations about, movies and TV and all that stuff. Actually, I know from your Facebook page, you're you're from like the Pittsburgh area. So you're Steelers, you like hockey, you like baseball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So did you end up watching any of the games from like the NFL this year outside of like the Steelers games?
I caught some of them. I'm not a huge follower of sports like I used to be. I'll catch some of them here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, look, they're my teams. I'm from right outside the Pittsburgh area, so I follow them. Here and
dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a bigger hockey fan than anything else, but yeah, I mean, the Steelers throughout the years, I've watched them. Obviously excited when they do well, upset when they don't do well.
Yeah, they just got rid of the long-term coach who'd been there for like a good 15, 16 years. That's crazy.
19 years? I think it was 19 years.
Insane. Yeah. Imagine, because that's crazy, because that means he was your head coach back in when I started high school. Guys, I started high school in 2009.
Now you're making me feel old. Yeah.
My back is fucking destroyed. We're just two old white guys on a podcast at 7 a.m. my time. Holy crap. Ugh, gosh.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean, he was coach for quite some time. Personally, I mean, I feel he wore out his time a number of years ago. Look, I get it that he never had a losing season, but there's a point in time when you need to have more success than just in the regular season. You need to get to the playoffs, win some playoff games, and get to the Super Bowl. And he just wasn't doing that. Even when you had such a great quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger for a number of years, he wasn't pulling it off. He wasn't getting there. And I get it. He got to the Super Bowl twice in his tenure, won one, lost another. Sure, but that was early on in his career here. Later on, he wasn't getting it done, and there comes a time when he probably should have been let go, really, but it never happened, and he's gone. I don't like that they have hired Mike McCarthy as the coach because he's old, and I don't think he's going to be around for a while. And what has he done? He won the Super Bowl once against the Steelers, against that year that they lost, but that's it. So again, the Steelers are in an interesting place right now. They're maybe in a better position than the Pirates have been, sure, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I have the same issue when it comes to like even not just traditional sports teams that follow, but like esports teams too. You'll have like people who did bring you success, so that should earn them a place on your roster, whether it be a player or a coach for a little bit of time. But at some point, when it's not bringing you in the success like it used to. And keep on, these are teams with like more than one person, offensive coordinators, tight ends, and different assistant coaches like that. I understand it's not one person's fault, but at some point, if you give someone like 7+ years to kind of replicate the success they used to have, and it's just not happening, it's like, at what point do you just go, okay, it's time to move on? And you factor in being on a team that long, a decade, and he did win for them, so it's not like the whole career was a bust. But it's one of those things where you tell me at none of these points you were like you could get someone different. And keep on, I want to make sure I point out, I know sports friends, hey, not saying it's one person's fault, but you factor in how much time is a decade. Keep on, guys, you don't get those years back. Those are gone. Those regular season records, you never had a losing season, so your regular season world championship trophies there, right? But it's one of those where, sometimes a new change is good. And hey, you're going to fail probably your first few attempts. I mean, the Patriots, I don't know if you know this, but after Tom Brady had a few coaches that got them some 3-14 regular seasons. They got a new guy, new coach, quarterback. Now they're in the Super Bowl. You're gonna fail when you try
Yeah.
those, but
But,
I
but
think that is a
let's face
better.
it, the Seahawks are going to crush them in the Super Bowl, though. So
Oh
that's
yeah. But like for me, I always see it as I could always respect someone trying that and failing versus the person that's going to keep doing the same shit constantly, because it's just going to be the same shit constantly when you keep having that as a routine. Unless you're a Buffalo Bills fan, and well, one of my subscribers isn't. He ain't been here since they lost that game, so it's okay, Walter. It's fine. It's just a game. Josh Allen can't break your heart any more than my wife broke my heart when she banged those black guys. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man. It's okay. You have the tools to cope with whatever life throws at you. So, since this is your first appearance on the show, we're going to start it here. So that way, whenever you have a second or third appearance, on the show later on down the road, this is already done. So your origin story, because you talk about superheroes a lot, so origin stories are a part of that. So we'll start here. How was your life growing up? Did you have both parents, private school, homeschool, public school? Let's start there.
Well, my origin story is a kind of a typical comic book origin story for a superhero almost. I grew up in a little rural town outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and when I was 4 years old, my father passed away, and I lived in a single parent home. My mother raised me at that point, and I did have an older brother who
Was your grandma in your life too?
Grandmother.
Was your grandmother also in your life too?
My grandparents, yes and no. I mean, sort of. So my mom's side of the family, those grandparents were in my life quite a bit. My dad's side of the family, after my dad passed away, they sort of shunned us in a way. So I didn't really, see them much at all ever. It was more my mom's side of the family. And my grandmother on that side actually passed away a couple years after my dad died. So it was kind of my grandfather and my mom on that side, that was really there for me for a number of years. But yeah, I mean, for quite some time, I grew up on that side. And unfortunately, kids are brutal when you're younger. And kids in school use that against me to bully me. They would use that my father was dead and that I didn't have a father to bully me, thinking that it was a joke and that it was funny to do so. So I had a rough childhood for sure. And I mean, my mom was fantastic. I mean, everything that she did, she's been a great mother my entire life. So, I grew up and, became the man I am today. I dove into comics pretty early. I was actually more of a I mean, I started with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as a kid. I loved the Turtles, and then it kind of transitioned into Star Wars. I was a huge Star Wars nut. I do remember the very first time I ever picked up a comic book. I was at a local supermarket. They had a spinner rack near the book section, and I saw a comic book with the Scarlet Spider on it, and I was like, "That is the coolest looking Spider-Man book that I've ever seen." And I begged my mom to get it, and I got it. So that was the first comic book. I don't remember which issue it was or anything. I just remember that it was Scarlet, the Scarlet Spider. So I got that. And then Batman, huge Batman fan. The reason I was a big Batman fan is before my dad died, I used to sit on his lap watching reruns of Adam West Batman, eating cookies. So, I would do that as a kid. The first movie I ever saw in theaters was the 1989 Batman. So again, like comic books and superheroes and that kind of stuff, that was ingrained in me from childhood. And yeah, I mean, then it kind of like in the late 90s, early 2000s, Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, that really like anime kind of crept into my life then. And while I'm not as big an anime anymore as I was back then, I really loved anime in my high school years. And yeah, I mean, that was a big part of then. Star Wars has always been a big part of my life. Star Wars has always been like my first love ever since I experienced it in the mid 90s. And then superheroes kind of crept back in mid 2000s. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of been there for my whole life, just being a nerd, I mean, the whole time. Once I became an adult, I'd say probably around in sports too. We talked a little bit about it, but sports, big hockey fan. I'd say probably around like 2010, 2011. I became a sports writer for a website and a hockey writer for a website. And I was writing about the Pittsburgh Penguins for this site, and I got press passes and stuff like that. So I was kind of like already delving into the quote unquote like content creation type of stuff with that. I was really thinking about, and that was the early years of podcasting where I wanted to start podcasting about hockey, but I didn't know how to start. I just didn't know what to do. But my job was too busy, things like that. I just didn't have time. Eventually, my first podcast became a video game podcast because I was a big video gamer also, called the Great Video Game Blog, where we had a blog and a podcast where a few of my buddies did it. We did like 4 episodes before we just kind of dropped it. It was supposed to be, I had wild ambitions of competing against G4 TV, but I mean, come on, I was young and stupid.
And the joke of that is like they competed against themselves when they hired Frost Gurnen. So,
yeah, exactly. And then eventually I moved from where I was, ended up getting a divorce from my wife at the time, and I was living on my own. And just I made a friend where I was working, and I was like, hey, you want to start a podcast? Because we both were talking just pop culture stuff. I was like, dude, you want to start a podcast? He was like, sure. And we started a podcast. And originally it was just, we were bullshitting about everything. It was just kind of like, it was politics, it was pop culture, it was everything. And then it just was like, you know what? We don't want to do the politics thing because it was just hot topics. No. So we just kind of did pop culture. We decided to call it the Remote Control. But then there was another podcast called the Remote Control, and some guy contacted us like, hey, you can't use that name. I'm going to sue you. We're like, whoa. All right. And then we looked, it was like, dude, you haven't uploaded a podcast in like 2 years, but whatever, we'll come up with another name. So we came up with a name called Bridging the Geekdoms, which was a great name. So we used that name. That podcast lasted a number of years. We had probably 150 shows or more. And we were doing that for quite a while. It was just audio. Around the pandemic, we started doing video as well. Added another co-host. We went on for a little while, but it got to the point where it was just more me doing it than anybody else. And I was just like,
I know the feeling of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It got to the point where it's like, I'm not feeling it at all. So I decided to start my own show where it was just like, I want to make it my own, make it who I am. Because Bridging the Geekdoms, while, yeah, it was more me, but it was created with a couple people and it just didn't feel like me. So that's when I created Slav's Free Talk. And yeah, that went on. That's been going on for a few years now. And I've really built that to be my own. And that's where I'm at now. That kind of started off as just being fully pulp culture. And then a few weeks ago, actually back in December, I shifted it to being more DC centric because as I've been going on for the last few years, the only videos that have been really getting any traction are DC content. I
noticed that too. Whenever I did upload videos out of this podcast, the ones that always did the best were the ones that always talked about DC.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
Even if I uploaded them months late, which I tell people I get the same views no matter what. It's just a matter of the audience retention. I could upload the videos literally right now that I did last year. Right now, they would probably still perform the same. And the DC ones would still do better because for some reason, DC just has this drama aura around them, whether it be in the comic books, movies, animation space, where people just flock to it just to hear what your opinions are about it. Like there are still people out there getting views on Snyderverse stuff, despite that being done. Like, I actually checked out all that years ago, and I was still surprised it's actively still going on, And now apparently people are thinking that James Gunn is going to be, now people think that Zack Snyder is going to be involved with Warner Brothers if fucking Paramount were to buy them. And it's like, it looks like Netflix is going to buy them. Now, whether or not you agree with that is a different entirely thing up to your own personal perspective, but it looks like Netflix is going to be the one to buy them. Now, I don't really think either are the best fit for them, actually. Like, Paramount has their own issues, too. If you guys don't know, Paramount was in debt for years until they were bailed out by that Skydance merger that happened like a few months ago. So, is Paramount longevity wise the best partner when they literally just went through the same thing that Warner Brothers is now going through. It's like, I don't know about that, but Netflix brings in another plate of issues. Like, I tell people this, I don't truly think that people understand what companies will tell you in the moment and then later on switch up on a dime, because right now they really can't do what they want with Warner Brothers until like minimum 2030. You have factoring in movie contracts that's already stated to be going through 2029, right? So, and it's also cheaper for them as a company to just let all those contracts expire, then renegotiate a new contract from their perspective about what you're worth. And like, as you know, because you may mention comics, guys, what is Netflix going to do with comics? This is what's going to happen. This is going to blow your guys' mind. This is how much influence my dad had in my life, and I'm black. Nothing. Do you guys think Kevin Feige goes in the room where Marvel Comics is at and talks to them? No, because comics offer you no money, as we know, because Jim Lee just talked about this in a way that only Jim Lee can talk about it, pretty much mentioning comics make no money. So no, these things are comics are like a tax write-off. Like, they could be a lot better, but they don't, but they just don't care enough. It's one of those things where this is just a tax write-off. Comics, these cost $60K to make. Here, IRS, here's our money. That's it. It's literally like, it doesn't matter. Comics are actually the most safe thing with this merger when it comes to Warner Brothers anyway, because comics make no money. Guys, you will make more money selling a Batman lunchbox to a kid than a comic book, which is sad, but that's just what it is. You'll make more money selling a Batman. Good Lord. You make more money printing Batman logos in a collaboration with Pepsi or Coca-Cola. You know, like, this notion that comics are going to be screwed over with Netflix buying Warner Brothers is stupid, because I can tell you don't read them. And keep in mind, all those initiatives you guys have seen, like Dawn of DC and All In, that's not done by an executive coming in. They don't give a fuck about comic books. Get the fuck out of here, you weirdos. But before we go on, just one more thing. So, are you married?
I have a family. Yeah.
Okay.
I have 6 total kids.
6 kids. You're in a protection plan, buddy. Good Lord. How are they, like preteen, younger kids, or they're all older now?
So 4 of the kids are biologically mine. 2 of them are not. They're from
your stepdad.
Yeah, I'm a stepdad to 2 of them.
Okay.
But they range from 16 down to 5 years old. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 16, 14, 11, 10.
Okay, so
7,
relatively
5, so.
older.
Yeah.
So is because every parent story is different with it. Is bedtime always the hardest time?
I mean, it is. It's tough. I mean, the older kids are fine at this point. You know, once you get to once the kids hit like 10, 11 years old, they're pretty easy to get to bed. But the 2 youngest ones, they're kind of tough, and you know, you put them to bed and they still come to the room. I can't fall asleep. You know, that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, just go to bed. You know, that's tough. But yeah, it's.
So, and since you have younger kids, I'll ask you this too. Have you introduced them to comic books the same way you got introduced to it as a kid?
So it's been kind of tough. I tried introducing the boys, because I have 3 boys, 3 girls. So the boys I've tried introducing to comics. My oldest son, he's not really into reading at all. So he's not, like, I tried, and he doesn't really read. He likes the nerdy type of stuff, so he'll watch the Marvel movies, the DC movies, and stuff like that, but he's not into comics. My middle son, he is a reader. He likes to read. He actually started off when he was much younger, because he's 14. When he was much younger, he was reading like those Dogman books, which are kind of like comic. They're written like comics. So he kind of understood the whole comic panels and everything like that. But he's never really transitioned into your traditional comic books now. And I've given him some of mine, like, hey, you know, check this out or read this. And I've bought him some and things like that, but he's just never really cared for it. He's also a fan of the movies. And I think that's kind of an issue that we're seeing in today's world, is it's just easier to watch the movie. You know, you could just watch these movies of Marvel and DC. You can watch Batman, you can watch Iron Man and Spider-Man, and the kids are happy with that. Whereas when we were younger, or specifically me, when I was younger, we didn't have that. We had
Yeah.
Batman, but you know, to me, it was kind of
Mhm.
like, I want more Batman. I want to see more Batman. So I read the comics. There's no Spider-Man. Yeah, there was a Spider-Man cartoon, but it was kind of like, hey, this is great, but look, they never showed me Scarlet Spider. Look at this, or
Right.
I've never seen this, or so that was for me. I was more interested in seeing what else there was. Kids these days, they just want now, and it's just like, oh, I could just throw on a Spider-Man movie because there's 15 of them, or there's 15 Batman movies. I can watch one of them. I think that's kind of what the problem is, and why people just or kids nowadays just don't read comics like they used to. But maybe I'm wrong
Yeah.
on that. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think the studios realized that too a long time ago. That's why they started shifting into making the live action movies that came out as, old as they are now. Like even as far as back as like Superman 78 was coming out when like John Byrne's run of Superman was going. And that's people don't know, John Byrne's Superman run is literally claimed to be like one of the best Superman comic runs ever. Honestly. And even at that moment in time, they're realizing, hey, the money just really isn't here. But if we make a live action version of this character, it'll probably just make us gangbusters like box office wise. And
Yeah.
kids these days, like you said before, entertainment has just changed. Like back then, your entertainment options were so limited and your options were so limited, you only just had that to consume. Now it's basically like just there's an entirely new way people have consumed movies. Like there's a big movement on like TikTok for comic books, but that's how people are consuming their comic book news is, potentially watching someone on TikTok give them a breakdown of the
Yeah.
newest issue that came out. I didn't have that growing up. Like, people like, I was born in '94, like so my options of entertainment were limited too. You just had TV and movies. That's it. You
I'm
had
not gonna
comics.
lie.
I didn't have that because we didn't have a shop next to us, so I got comics sparingly throughout my life.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's also so many amount of comics, and the latest like Superman run that's been going on for the last year after like the All In event started, the run with the
Joshua Williamson.
Doomsday, the one with Doomsday where Doomsday from
Oh
the future came. I
yeah,
didn't know that was going on. Like because again, there's just so many comics. So I was kind of invested with the Absolute universe. So I was kind of reading that sparingly,
me
here
too.
and there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what was going on in the main line, especially with Superman. And I was just scrolling TikTok, and somebody was like on TikTok was like, you have to see what's going on with Superman. And he had a run of TikToks just talking about what was going on with Superman. And it was like, well, I don't need to pick up the issues anymore because you just told me everything. Now, granted, I did go back and I read them because I wanted to see myself what was going on. But most people aren't going to do that. Most people are just going to see that TikTok run and say, well, I just saw what was going on. It's cool, but I don't need to go see it now.
Yeah, and keep in mind what you just said there. It's good that people do that. I don't knock people that do that. That's been going on the entertainment industry for years. People breaking down
Yeah.
X thing and going over it. But what the average person needs to understand is them breaking that down is not you immersing yourself also in that story too, because you would feel differently if you immerse yourself in the story, reading it panel by panel, understanding how the character dynamic works and how the dialogue works too. But it's just so much more easier to just have someone break it down for you in like a minute than just go buying it for like $5 and reading it.
Mhm.
Just fucking entertainment. Entertainment's so easy to access now, and information is so easy to access now. You just get I guess you could say short form content has dulled
Yeah.
down a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the lack of comic book stores. I mean, my closest comic book store is 45 minutes away. And I know I can order online, and that is one way to do it, and I have. And then you can also get them digitally, which that's actually the way that I read most of my comics is I have an iPad and I just buy them digitally. But, I find it that most people don't either won't buy them digitally. Like kids, they're not going to buy them digitally. Most parents won't let them because most parents who give their kids iPads don't let them just buy things on their iPads, or they have no access to buy them because you don't see spinner racks at stores anymore. There's no comic book store that when you're at a mall, I remember as a kid going to a mall and there was a comic book shop there. So while we were walking around the mall, I would be like, Mom, I want to go in there. And she would say, okay, when we're all done, as long as you're good, we can go in there. you don't have that anymore. So when it comes down to it, it's kind of like, where do kids get a chance to stop and look at comic books or go to a comic book store,
Mhm.
because there's nowhere to see them. And I think that's another issue that we have.
Also, manga. I mean, I know Targets and Walmarts. I'm pretty sure you've seen them sell this like One Piece book. It's called a 3-in-1, where it has the first 3 volumes of One Piece. All of them sell. It's like $10. I've even bought it myself. It's like let's use One Piece for example. One Piece is very popular,
Mhm.
anime wise and culturally wise. And if someone just wanted to get into One Piece for a cheap barrier of entry, I'm not talking about starting at a volume 1 or anything like that. I'm just saying from a cheap barrier of entry. If you're a dad, 6 kids, it's a lot of money, plus with bills, you know. If you're like the 11-year-old says, "Daddy, I like One Piece. I'm gonna start reading One Piece." That's the one I likes reading. You could go to your local Walmart right now, or a comic book shop, like you said. Buy that One Piece 3-in-1, contains the first 3 volumes of One Piece. You pay $10 for it. $10 gets you 3 volumes in one of the books. And if he says, "Daddy, I want another one," you can buy them all the way up to where they're printed right now. And they're still printing them, so it's not going to end anytime soon. The other thing to bring up with that is, if your kid wanted a omnibus, let's say, okay, I want this omnibus. Son, that's $60 for like this Batman omnibus. See the difference there, guys? It's not just about comics themselves, it's the pricing of them. Why do people think compact comics sold as well as they did? The page per price count is what the consumer is looking at. You can get your 11-year-old right now the One Piece 3-in-1. That's $10 for 3 volumes, and that's considered an omnibus for manga size, versus paying $60 for this superhero omnibus. I'm not saying either or is better. I have every version of comic you can ever imagine. As you guys can see, I love it all. But if you're a dad or a mom and you have like 4 or 5 plus kids, you're thinking about those price margins they exceptionally add up. You'll probably get the kid like an omnibus for like Christmas or whatever, because that's just what those situations evolve in. But for the immediate term, that $12 is looking really juicy right there. You're like, oh, it's like that Patrick at SpongeBob meme when they're looking over a Krabby Patty. They're just like, you know.
Yeah.
That's why, like right now, you could get your kid the DC compact comics that are coming out, whichever one he wants. Doesn't matter. It's $12. $12 ain't shit. $12 is literally nothing. Keep in mind, and that's $12 for it. Not just that, a completed run on a character's story arc. You're not getting individual issues. You're getting a completed story arc, so he can read the entirety of. Good Lord, kids are so spoiled these days. They can read the entirety of Court of Owls all at once. We have to wait for that shit week to week, but it's okay. Times evolve, entertainment evolves. But he can just read the entirety of Court of Owls right there. He can read the entirety of Also Superman right there. Batman Hush. Don't have to wait for Jim Lee's bullshit. Can read it all at once. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
And I like that they, make that an option now. That, I think that was their way of battling manga. That's the only best way you can do it, honestly, because this notion that comics always sold as well as mangas, guys, not sure. Actually, guys, 1 volume of Naruto sold in the millions. Comic books sell in the thousands. So unless you're a complete illiterate retard, from what I just told you, if you think comics have always sold better, you're an idiot. Also the big shonen ones, Dragon Ball, Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, a lot of those, they sell in the millions. Comics sell in the thousands. That's not comparable. They've never been comparable. It's this vanity thing that people always be saying, like, oh, comics were selling as good as manga. No, they never were. You just convinced yourself of that because you're a moron.
But I mean, that's just the Asian market, though. I mean, when you
true.
you take a look over there. I mean, they love their manga, and they don't. And not that they don't care about American comics, because they do sell a little bit over there, but
they're inspired by stuff we do.
yeah. But I mean, when it comes to manga, that's what they want. They want their manga, and then again, it's the same over here. People love manga over here. It's crazy how much people go crazy over it here, and the American comic it got stale after a while, and it's great to see right now that there's a bit of a resurgence going on, specifically with DC, especially.
Yeah,
we're seeing this resurgence happening. Is it going to last? I don't think it will. I think it's going to start to die off here by the end of the year. But it's great to see that there's this bit of a resurgence going on, because it's needed. It's really needed to have a boost, because it was in a bad place. Over the last 10 years, it was in a really bad place.
It's crazy how Marvel also had the same similar success with their Ultimate Universe. Granted, it was
Yeah.
only pretty much Spider-Man and Ultimate Wolverine and the Ultimates.
Yeah.
Granted, but they're like, you know what? We're gonna end this universe. You know what, guys? This just happened a few days ago when we're doing this episode of the show. Like, you know what? Psych. It's gonna be brought back differently.
Yeah.
That
But
means they just wanted to sell a bunch of new number ones again. Fucking Marvel, Jesus Christ.
but let's face it, with the absolute universe, I mean, it's Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. That's pretty much all that's doing anything, and it's more Batman than anything else. So,
Right.
and then what's helping Marvel right now is their crossover with DC, because they're having a big crossover event too, and that's helping Marvel. You know, I think I just saw a stat. I can't verify this because I saw it on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah.
But I think the last comic, or like the top 20 comics, none of them are Marvel like single issues.
Yeah.
I think the next like only Marvel comic is like number 21, which is crazy.
Because I saw the same thing too. So I think it poses many different parallels, right? So Marvel's even worse. Also with Marvel, because Marvel's even worse. So Marvel, if you guys don't know, because I did a video about this on my comic book channel like last year with Professor Savage Dad, Marvel restarted Amazing Spider-Man, which is their flagship series, at a new number 1. Keep in mind, that's stupid. And the same reason why DC doing it is stupid as well, because guys, Batman and Spider-Man could be at like issue, God knows how, like 79 in a run, and they'll still sell like a bestseller, and they'll be around hovering top 5, top 10. They'll never be out of the top 10, minimum top 5. Marvel decided to themselves after the Zeb Wells run, because no one fucking liked that shit. You know what? Let's just reboot. Let's just restart to a new number 1. Why? It's I don't even know what the point of that is. They're essentially starting a new number 1 for a character that doesn't sell out of the top 5. Already stupid. Then DC's problem, as you mentioned earlier, which is very key in this conversation, is, well, yeah, the chart looks really good for DC. There's a problem with that. That's all Batman stuff. That means if you literally had any other character, that means Marvel right now, if they actually got their shit together, could make any book sell better than what DC's doing, because all DC has to offer you is Batman. It's so weird how people will look at the chart and go, you know, DC's doing good. They are doing good. There's no doubt about that. But this is all propped up on like 2 things they're doing.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is DC didn't need to start Batman with an all new number 1, not absolute Batman, the regular Batman run.
Matt Fraction's Batman.
Yeah, they started Matt Fraction's Batman run. But keep in mind, I understand why they did it, because Jim Lee's Hush 2 was having delays. They could have started Matt Fraction's run after Jim Lee's run was over. It wouldn't have mattered. Batman just sells, from the chart you just mentioned, which is true, Batman sells just that much. So Marvel, at this point now, I don't know how they don't think they can beat DC when they can. If DC's only going to offer you Batman and their absolute universe, Marvel literally could take them and beat them still. They just, for some reason, I don't know what's going on with them. For some reason, how do you fumble Spider-Man? And relaunching it was stupid. It made no difference sales-wise. It's always going to be top 10. Now Amazing Spider-Man, good Lord. How does this happen? Now Amazing Spider-Man's not in your top 10. How did that? Marvel, what are you doing? What crack did you start smoking? That's bad. That's awful. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
X-Men doesn't do good. Captain America doesn't do. I know there's the Chip Zdarsky run right now, but like we know that's going to get rebooted to a new number 1 very soon. There's a ton of other characters. Their Avengers run with Jed McKay is over in a few months. That's done. Like, what is going on over there? The MCU's failing, like you said earlier. Fucking shit's hit. Everything's burning. It's like that dog. Everything is fine. It's all burning.
I want to bring this back around to something we were just talking about with kids. Yeah. You brought up a great point. They keep rebooting it with number 1s, which brings it to nobody knows where to start. You know, like, where do you start? Like, you see Amazing Spider-Man. There's how many reboots has there been? Like, how many times has you got Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man? You have this, you have that, you have, you know, with the Batman stuff. Now, granted, I think with the new Batman run, the Fraction run, it's technically Batman number 1, but it's also continuing the main line. So it's so it's the main line Batman. So it's still issue like 1000 something, but number 1. You know, like,
right?
Why even do that? You know, like it confuses people. that's the difference between manga. Manga just never starts at one. Like they started at one,
and if they want to do a
that's it.
side story, they'll just do a random one shot. That's
Yeah.
it. If you
Yeah.
want to experiment with that, just do a whole spin-off of something. Like I said before, DC, in credit, it worked out for them, but it's with Batman, so that's another asterisk to put there. You didn't need to do a brand new number one for Batman. It continues the same. That Batman run started with Tom King. That specific Batman run started with Tom King. So it went from Tom King, James Tynion, Chip Zdarsky. Now you're at Matt Fraction. Well, Jeff Loeb, then Matt Fraction. You could have just waited till Jim Lee and Matt Fraction's run was over and then just do the Batman book. It would from the chart, it would sell just as well.
Yeah.
That's the problem with comics. Is if you're in a shop, you take your kids to the shop and they're like, "Daddy, where do I start with comics?" You know what? You could pick up Berserker. I don't know, that deluxe edition over there. That fucking I think Dark Horse did for Berserker or whatever. That's just volume 1. It says volume 1 right there. Easy pickup. Or what we mentioned with that One Piece 3-in-1. You pick it up. There you go. You know, with Batman, it's like, I guess the best place to start is Absolute Batman number 1 if you're a complete new reader, because there's no barrier of entry there. It's just Absolute Batman number 1. All right, just go there. All you need for that if you know names of characters, then you're pretty much good to go. Honestly, if you could have the most surface level knowledge of Batman, get it on Absolute Batman, and you're completely fine. That's why I think the universe is selling very well. All the characters, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, all of them require no barrier of entry. You just jump on. That's what Ultimate Spider-Man sold very well, even back in the day when it first started. Hey, cool, I'm in. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, also, the thing to bring up next is I know you get into a lot of back and forth with people on Twitter when it comes to like the DC universe itself. So I'll say, looking back on it now, we'll start here and then we'll get to like James Gunn stuff. So what is your biggest issue when it comes to like DC fans now? Because I feel like people are putting themselves in camps harder than they used to back in the day, because this always happened, right? This has been the thing forever, but now it feels like with James Gunn specifically, since he's giving DC fans essentially what they've never had, which is, credit to him, structure as they're looking at it, shared some like universe structure, starting points. It feels like whenever people, it's like you're just not allowed to criticize them, because if people like, but that's how it feels like when people, well, you can't criticize him, he's doing everything good, which is not true. It's just not true at all, you know. Or with Zack Snyder, it feels like, well, if he did any semblance of good, even if you don't like the guy, his direction for DC, you're not allowed to give him any like comeuppance, actually, you know. It feels like we're getting into this point where, you know, specifically with James Gunn, it's like, man, you guys are talking as if like this guy's decisions aren't bad. Guys, I promise you right now, if he hired Christina Hodson to write that Batman movie, and if you think that's a good idea, I truly don't mean this in any harm way. This is just talking trash, as I normally do. That's a red flag. I know your wife might peg you, and you might think her writing that is a good idea. Christina Hodson wrote Birds of Prey, and I get it, executive meddling with both her, that movie and The Flash, understandable, but you can't. But that argument falls flat too. Do you know guys how many movies executives have meddled in? Oh, excuse me, random Halloween 2 with Rob Zombie, Jaws. There's many, some of the greatest movies ever made had executive meddling in it. Now, granted, I'm not blaming everything on her. I'm just talking about her story structure. She is the worst, quite literally the worst possible candidate out of anyone to write a Batman movie. Her Birds of Prey movie stunk ass, and Flash stunk ass. Story-wise, they're horrible. Why would convince me, after seeing Birds of Prey and The Flash, because these god pieces of cinema, right? Convince me she should be writing Batman. There is no reason for her to write Batman other than I'm not making this political. I'm not. But she's a woman, so you can't criticize them now in Hollywood, and she probably has their politics, so she just gets to write on Batman. What reason should she write Batman for? Have people watched Birds of Prey? She couldn't even write Black Mask. Black Mask, his rich, filthy millionaire from all of his underworld dealings, hires a crazy white lady to get that diamond out of Cassandra Cain's stomach. Why not just hire Deathstroke to do that? Why is Black Mask this criminal? Yeah, he also has Victor Zsasz around him. It's just a stupid stuff. Like the Flash movie, for some reason, she writes a Flash movie where people think Barry's dad killed his mom. Makes no sense. Barry's dad was at the store. How could he have killed his mom? Also, if Barry's dad had killed his mom in that movie, Barry was in the living room, so he would have seen his dad do it. He literally tells the cop, my dad wasn't there. People say, but the Flash TV show, not the same thing. So I know you didn't watch the show. The reason why people thought his dad did it in the show is because he was in the house when it happened. He wasn't it. Plus, you convinced me that she can write Batman. I know your wife makes you dress up in a Leia cosplay and pegs you, but this notion that women somehow deserve to write these superhero movies is absolutely ridiculous. She can't write good superhero movies. She can't. Story structure is terrible. Convince me Birds of Prey and Flash are good movies. You won't. I've watched them. They suck omega ass. She's gonna write Batman? Really? That fucking stupid. What a horrible decision that would be. Keep in mind, James Gunn, we probably know. Do I know she's the writer? He would always say to these trades, you know what? I like this guy, but that's wrong. He's not did that yet. I'm just pointing out he's always did that. That's his thing, to call out the trades.
Now, personally, look, I'm gonna say this. Personally, I enjoyed the Flash movie. I did. I enjoyed the Flash movie. Is it the greatest movie of all time? It's not. Is it the greatest superhero movie of all time? It's not. But when I sit down and when I watch that movie, I had a good time. I had issues with the VFX. I did. I thought the VFX were the worst part of that movie.
And I can't blame her on that. That's not
no.
Yeah.
The directing was not an issue with it. I feel like, he got the best performances out of Ezra Miller. I think Ezra Miller did a good job in that movie. I feel Michael Keaton was good in that movie. Sasha Kaye or Cow, or however you say her name, she was good in that movie. So when it comes down to it, I think the movie was enjoyable. I had a good time. I even think the story was good. Now, you're right about that one particular instance about the death of Barry's mother. Sure, that's a little wonky, but that's one thing that I can actually get past, okay? But here's the thing. Birds of Prey, that's another movie that I don't think it's terrible. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's the best DCEU movie ever. It's the best this. I had very, very, very low expectations for that film, like the lowest expectations. So when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, so like that's how it is for me. Now, sitting here talking about Hodson, if I sit here and say Hodson writing the Batman movie, I took a look at Hodson and I looked at her resume and I was sitting here thinking, okay, can she write a Batman movie? Anybody can write a Batman movie. Anybody could sit there and write a movie. One thing that gives me a little bit of hope for Hodson, Ron Howard is actually currently or is going to be working with her on an upcoming movie. Ron Howard, who is one of the best directors in the history of movies. I mean, is he Spielberg level? No, but he's damn close to Spielberg level, Ron Howard. I love Ron Howard as a filmmaker. He is working on a movie that Christina, whatever, Hodson has worked on. And that's encouraging. That tells me, okay, she has something. There's something there about her that maybe we're not seeing. And maybe she's able to bring that to a Batman movie. Does that mean that she's the best choice? I don't know. Another encouraging thing for me is that this is going to be a movie that James Gunn is working on with her start to finish. James Gunn, in my opinion, is one of the best writers that is out there for comic book movies. I think he is a fantastic writer. I think he knows what he's doing and knows what I know what he's capable of when it comes to comic book films. So when he sat there months ago and said, I'm working with a writer now on knocking out the story. Yeah. That gives me confidence saying, okay, he's giving direction to this writer. That to me says, okay, we're not going to see a Birds of Prey. We're not going to see her typical writing. This is going to be something that James Gunn has worked closely with her. Maybe we're going to see something different from her. Again, will it turn out to be shit? It could, and that's going to suck. Or it could turn out, hey, this is great. But then we have to question, is it because James Gunn worked with her? Or is this the real Hodson? Is this the real person, the real writer that has finally come out and bloomed and is actually the type of writer that she can
sorry, this is not to pivot, but this is her resume. Did you like her Transformers movie that she wrote?
Bumblebee? Yeah. Yes. Bumblebee was great. Bumblebee was a great movie. I think, honestly, in my opinion, that's the best Transformer movie.
Okay. Is it, and keep in mind, I like to be fair here, even though I have my massive criticisms for her in those movies.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be, maybe she turned in, because keep in mind, guys, these scripts go through many changes. Maybe this is just kind of what they settled on, as far as like, people argue when it comes to scripts and all that stuff. That could have been a script that they just settled on, so they just don't have arguments constantly, because it was always getting constantly changed. I think, or it could also show the leadership at Paramount was different than the leadership at Warner Brothers, where they gave her a lot more creative freedom to write what she felt like, versus what happening at Warner Brothers. I will offer that.
I don't, and I don't want to sit here and say, look, I have full confidence in her. I don't. Like, I'm sitting here saying, look, I agree.
You're casually optimistic, I would say.
I agree that you should worry a little bit. If you didn't like The Flash, if you didn't like Birds of Prey, absolutely you should worry. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of area to be just a little bit of have a little bit of optimism. She had a great Transformer film in Bumblebee. You have someone like Ron Howard who's willing to work with her. Look, if she was that bad, Ron Howard wouldn't work with her. I can tell you that. And the fact that James Gunn has been working very closely with her, there's just a little bit of optimism that I have, and just some hope that I have. Like, hey, this could turn out well.
Also, because I know you liked some of what Zack Snyder did do for the DCEU, so we'll start there, because I like to do this with people so they can look back and go, okay, maybe this movie was better than I remember or worse than I remember. Yeah. So at this point now, the DCEU would have been what? Decade, some change years old. Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Do you think that movie ages better for you or worse than you looking back on it now?
Man of Steel is still my favorite superhero film of all time.
Okay.
I love that movie. From the moment I saw it in theaters in 2013, I just knew that it was something special. I knew that it was a movie that just kind of hit me in a certain way. And that's what movies are. I mean, they're supposed to hit people in certain ways, and it's going to hit somebody else a different way than other people. So when I came out, and as weeks went on and months went on, and I started to hear other people talk like, oh, hobo Superman and this and that, it was kind of like, oh man, that sucks. But hey, I like it. And is it a perfect film? No, but to me, it hits me in a way that I really appreciate what it did. So for me, it is a perfect. No, I won't say perfect, but it is my favorite superhero film.
Batman versus Superman.
The last 40 minutes, chef's kiss, but everything leading up to that, hit or miss. It's a little drawn out, a little too convoluted. Yeah, the Ultimate Edition is probably the better of the two, the theatrical and the Ultimate, but yeah, it just had too much in it for sure.
What's the next? Oh goodness, Lord, the studio's version of Suicide Squad. Man, that is just woo.
Yeah.
I think that ages worse when you think about it. Because I watch these movies like pretty much opening weekend if I can. I saw that one opening Friday. Good Lord.
Yeah, as did I.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough.
That PBS made you feel something, even if you didn't like it. That one was just like, wow, what the fuck was that?
Well. Yeah. Not very good.
Wonder Woman.
It's another one. I think it's a really, really strong film. Obviously, the no man's land moment in that movie is fantastic. The third act really just goes, and it's just kind of like the third act really brings that movie down because of how fast the third act is. If the studio didn't force them to change that third act from what they wanted to do, I think it would be a lot better, but it's still a good movie. I think it holds up well, but yeah, it's definitely the third act that brings it down a bit.
Josh Whedon's Justice League.
Oh, it's a masterpiece. No, just kidding.
Oh God. Well, it's so weird because what's crazy, if you guys watch that movie, Zack Snyder is still credited with directing it. So I don't even know what happened there, because Zack Snyder was directing that movie pretty much when BVS came out, and then they have the situation with his daughter and everything, and they bring in Josh Whedon and stuff like that. So
you don't know what happened there?
I do. It's just so
okay.
much. I don't want to get into all that. It's crazy because, like, one could argue that parts of it is what he wanted, but it's so weird because then you have his version where all that's so much different. It's like, oh my god,
the movie is. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna get some hate for this for sure. There are parts of that movie that I appreciate what Josh Whedon was trying to do. There are parts of it that
actually, the ending, I think it's funny. What's the ending? It's the ending of the movie, right? I get the joke. You're happy the movie's over. I think that movie's actual ending is beautiful. The ending where they're all separated and they're all like having that, Amy Adams having that inner monologue where she's like, if you want to look at a superhero, you just got to look up in the sky. I think that's a beautiful ending. The problem with that is sandwiched in the end of a movie like that.
Yeah. And I love the beginning of it with Batman and the parademons and the thief on the roof. The reason for it is because it is kind of almost a shot for shot remake of that Justice League War movie. Is it Justice League War? Yeah. Animated movie that came out, which I thought was great, where Batman's on the roof and fights a parademon and that kind of stuff. Like, I loved that because I was like, oh, that's so cool. I love that. Like, there's just bits and pieces that I was like, okay, I like what he's doing here. That's great. But it doesn't look, the Zack Snyder's Justice League is absolutely better, but that also has a lot of problems. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, my bad. Freaking hell. Dude was outside mowing lawn.
Oh,
on a place that has I hate people. Aquaman.
It's a great movie. Very, very colorful movie. I think it's a great looking movie. It just kind of gets boring. It really does. Like I'd say, it's fun at moments, but it's more boring than anything else. I get bored with it.
This is my personal favorite. It's the Shazam movie in 2019.
I love Shazam.
I think that's the best movie they did. It's so good. I wish there was problem. I wish the action and the CGI were a little bit more better, a lot more cleaner. But that moment where he realizes his mom just wasn't shit, oh my god, and he realized the family that he didn't want to be around was. Oh, that movie's so good. I really enjoyed the first one. Man, that second one, godly, talk about taking a dump on it. Fucking hell. First Shazam movie, oh man, that's a banger. I actually really enjoyed that one. Birds of Prey, you know how I feel about that one, but 94, not 94, my 84. Good lord.
I honestly think that might be the worst DCEU movie. Yeah, I don't know how. Come on, Wonder Woman is getting beat by wind. Okay, that's
true. Yeah,
she doesn't use a weapon in this whole movie. The entire movie, she doesn't use a weapon. She fights Cheetah without a weapon, and then, dude, like
it's either 84 or the studio Suicide Squad that are probably the worst.
I can enjoy Suicide Squad way more than 84. I really can. Because
84, you look back, there's nothing redeemable about it.
There's
at all.
Nothing. She rapes a guy.
Great. Then yes. She in Minecraft, allegedly said by a guy named Slav's Free Talk on YouTube.
And like she quote unquote flies, which it doesn't look like she's flying. It looks more like she's falling with style, like Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
Like none of it makes sense. None of it does. I will give it this. The first, what is it, like 5-8 minutes of the movie?
That first part where she's doing that trick. That mace. Yeah, that was very good. I did enjoy that.
That's cool. But the rest of the movie is just complete crap.
That's the problem. People also got to start admitting that thing with movies too. I think the entirety of 84 is not good. But if even a bad movie is that, I can admit when there's a part that I enjoyed. Like that first part where her mom is telling you, no, Diana, you can't cheat. That's a good moment. And then everything after that is just horrible. Bad. After that, I mean, you had Zack Snyder's Justice League that came out in 2021.
Yeah, again, that's a good movie. Way too much slow motion, which would have probably, if he would have cut down the slow motion to just being for the Flash, probably would have saved about 30 minutes. and then you probably could have cut out another 30 minutes of story that just wasn't needed. You didn't need the Iris West scene because it added nothing to the movie. So there's moments in there that he could have just removed and would have made it a tighter movie, would have made it flow better, but it's still better than the 2017 version.
And this is actually debatably my favorite, or second favorite, is James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Absolutely.
Oh god, that is a blast. That
so much fun.
I want that James Gunn. That was I watched that movie. You know what? I saw the trailers. I was like, you know what? Because I know a good amount about the Suicide Squad, comic book wise, and the movies have really never treated them that well. Like animated ones, the best animated one for them is Batman Assault on Arkham, which is pretty much just a Suicide Squad movie. It ties to the Arkham games and everything, but man, Suicide Squad, James Gunn, that's what kids call a certified banger. That's a banger right there, man. What was that guy? That guy was fucking on fire in that movie.
I mean, he came back with Peacemaker, did the same thing with Peacemaker.
Right, Peacemaker was good.
Even Peacemaker season 2, I mean, he was still there. I think people just they focus so much on the finale of Peacemaker season 2 because it didn't land like they wanted it to. But I mean, his Superman, he tried to do something different. He tried to be a different type of writer and director. But yeah, I mean, that's why it didn't land.
Black Adam.
The Black Adam wasn't terrible, but it felt like an early 2000s superhero film.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it was just like, hey, it had some great redeeming qualities like Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, and even The Rock kind of wasn't bad as Black Adam, but yeah, it just, like I said, it felt like
it's one of those movies where it's not horrible like 84, but it's very forgettable.
Yeah, it's very forgettable.
Yeah, like there's a part the villain was just kind of bad. Like, god. After Black Adam, Shazam Fear the Gods. You know what's crazy? I don't know why Shazam Fear the Gods did not get the same backlash 84 did. People factor in that movie, Rachel Zegler's character is a Greek goddess well over 900 years old, as these ladies are old. Her appearance doesn't show she's old, but she is old. At the end of the movie, she's dating a 17-year-old kid. Keep in mind, the backlash for Wonder Woman was she straight up raped the guy unconscious. Why in the world did Rachel Zegler's character just get away with that in that movie? Shazam Fear the Gods is bad. Fuck that movie. I'm good. What the hell was that? The fake out death. It's just a weird, long, drawn-out plot. You don't even see Billy the whole movie. It's just only what's cool about the first movies, they had a balance between the two. You just only see Zachary Levi. It's not bad, but it's just like that one is way worse than the first one. It's not even I'll be honest here. That was one of the ones they could have not had a sequel to. Like, it's like, why? It's one of those unnecessary sequels that just kind of devalue the original for no reason. Then you have those, and now we're at the point where you have those mindless end credit scenes that went nowhere because James Gunn came in and said this universe is worthless now.
Yeah.
The Flash, like you said before, you like that one. Blue Beetle.
Oh, I love Blue Beetle. I thought Blue Beetle was so much fun. I did. I thought it was a blast. I love Zolo as Jaime. I can't wait to see him again because he is being pulled into the DCU. I just wish they would do it sooner rather than later because Zolo, I think, is a great actor. And yeah, I just thought it was so much fun. It had so much heart. Like that was the whole crux of that movie, is just how much heart it had. So I'm all for it. I thought it was a blast.
After that, we have the last one of the DCEU, Aquaman 2.
Yeah, that's it wasn't good.
Just another forgettable one for you.
Yeah. I honestly, like, I can't sit here and think of a redeeming quality of that movie. Like,
you could tell all the reshoots, problems and delays.
It wasn't for me.
Aquaman 2 is the final movie in that universe. No solo Batman movie, no true focus on Superman. You know that universe. They should have ended that universe after Justice League. They should have just stopped and took a break and then just rebooted at some point.
They should have.
Kicking the can down the road that long was just a waste of time. Like, you knew at some point it was going to end because these had no cohesion. There was no direction. I get it. James Gunn's might not be for everybody, but at least there is some level of a direction somehow, right?
That's why I always say that the DC universe now, DC Films right now has a brighter future than it has ever had. Because even back in 2016, when they announced like they had this whole, dawn of the Justice League or whatever they called it,
Yeah.
like, yeah, they had like this quote unquote plan of movies, but it was very quickly just disrupted after that. Right now, with James Gunn at the helm, the future is brighter than it's ever been because there is one man in charge. You have this quote unquote Kevin Feige type of figure who has a plan, who has a vision, who's moving forward.
Mm.
And because of that, the future is bright. There is a future for DC Films. You never had a really cohesive future with the DCEU. And people will sit there and try and say, well, Zack Snyder had a future. Yes, but his future had an ending. His future had it where Batman was dead, where, you had all this stuff going. It was just, it was an interesting story. And I would have loved to have seen it, but it wasn't a long future. It wasn't a long story that you would have got because there was an
Yeah.
ending to it. This is a large universe with a great future that you can have. That did not have that. So that's why I always say it. And people get mad at me for saying it. It's like, no, like I'm not lying. Like you may not like James Gunn, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Just,
What? So for the DCU, because the first thing is Creature Commandos that started it. What do you think about Creature Commandos?
I was a blast. It was so much
Okay.
fun. I thought it was a great time, and all the characters were great. It had the great thing about James Gunn in his writing, and I said this a little bit ago. He is such a great writer because I take this back to the CW days with Greg Berlanti and everything when he would write the Flash and all that kind of stuff. He balanced the heroics, the heart, and the humor so well with those shows. James Gunn does that as well. James Gunn balances the heart, the humor, and the heroics so well, but he does it times 100. And he did it really well with Creature Commandos. The humor was great in it, and he does it. Yes, he's a little more raunchy with his humor, but that's okay. Like I have that kind of sensibility. Like I don't mind the raunchy humor from time to time. Like I don't want it all the time, but from time to time, sure, I'll take the raunchy humor.
Right.
But there was the heart there as well. When you had Nina, who spoilers what happens to her towards the end of the season, and then you have the heroics, all the heroics from Rick Flag and everything like that. So it worked. And that's the great thing about James Gunn because he's able to pull that off in such a great way.
It was so weird how people said they don't want raunchy humor and scenes in Suicide Squad, which was the dumbest thing I heard in my entire life. Suicide Squad is compared. Let's go more modern because I know people don't read comic books. I won't even go that far with you people. You guys are morons. We'll just say this: it's a group comprised of villains. If you thought they're going to do anything heroic or act heroic, talk heroic, you're stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's so cringe when you guys say certain things. It's like, do you not have hearing or reading comprehension at all? Why would a group of villains act heroic? It's for Suicide Squad specifically. They're put in a situation where they have to act heroic. They're not heroic. So expecting them to act heroic makes zero logical sense. It would make sense Peacemaker and Bloodsport murder people just for sport. Do you know why? Because this is crazy, mind-blowing stuff here, guys. Because they're fucking villains. They would find that funny. I found it funny, too. That shit was funny as fuck when they were doing that stuff. And I should expect that. Why would I expect them to be? Yeah, there's gonna be the reason why they have those emotional moments in movies like Suicide Squad is because it makes you kind of feel for them, but in the back of your head, you're not. Bloodsport is not supposed to be someone you're supposed to like. You can have conflicting ways you like a hero. It doesn't have to always be one or the other. There's a thing where people will tell me out of one of their mouths, I love Deadpool. Why? Well, he kills people and it's raunchy humor and sex scenes. Suicide Squad does it. Well, I don't like that. I don't know. They start fucking convulsing. They start having seizures. Like, wait a minute. This is the same shit. Strip away the characters. Take away the characters. They're doing the same shit. You can argue which one is better. That's fine. That's your own personal opinion. But to say that Suicide Squad is no different than Deadpool as far as like what they're trying to show you makes no sense. That's just you being biased, which is fine. But to say that Suicide Squad was doing it worse is stupid. That's just dumb. Also, Suicide Squad is better than those Deadpool movies anyway. Well, I've only seen the second and third one. I haven't seen the first one, but like Deadpool 2 has sex scenes or raunchy humor. Yeah, is that bad? I don't know. And keep in mind, people like Kick Ass, which is a fucking fantastic first movie, is really good.
Yeah.
That's got raunchy humor and sex scenes in it too. I heard no complaints about that. What is this? That to me would come off as unnecessary complaining because you're not shit talking it in the other movies, but for this one, you're gonna be no. Well, this is where I draw the line at. This is the same shit. This is like two sides of the same coin. Fucking hell. When he was like Starro came out, he was like, "That's your mom," and Starro stomped the shit out of the guy. I was laughing. You know why I was laughing? Because they're villains and they kill people. It's cool. People always talk about seeing different perspectives on these characters, but when they're shown to them, no, I agree. Execution matters a lot. I think James Gunn peaked, arguably so, in that movie. He did a fantastic job in that movie. I think that's where his real lane is at, doing these kind of underrated characters, showing his strengths through them. Superman, I don't know how you feel about Superman. I feel like Superman, it's a weird movie. I wanted to love it. I was fine with it. It had its issues for me personally. That's kind of where I'm at with it right now. I don't know how it'll age for me years from now. We have this conversation in like 6 months from now to a year, but that's how it works for me. I don't know how you feel about Superman. Did you like it?
I came out of the theater somewhat disappointed because I was kind of like you. I really, really wanted to love the movie. And I came out of the theater and I was just like, yeah, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. Did I hate it? No, I didn't hate the movie. I just felt that it was going to be something else. But something crazy happened because I always do this when these big comic book movies come out, I see them opening day. I'll always go see them opening day. I'll usually take my oldest kids to go see them. And then that weekend, like the next day, I'll take my younger kids to see it. And that next day I took my younger kids, I took my family to see it. And I sat back and I was able to just sit back and watch the movie. And at that point in time, I found myself really, really enjoying the movie that second time I watched it. And I don't know if it was because I was like, okay, my expectations are gone. I can just sit here and really just watch it and enjoy it. I can watch my youngest daughter, who is 5, and she was like all excited about crypto and what have you. But like I could sit here and just really watch the movie. And while I was watching it, I started to catch all of the hopefulness in it and just the real heart of the movie that James Gunn is so good at writing. And I came out of it enjoying it a lot more. Does it have issues? Yes, it does. And I will never not say that movie doesn't have issues, but I enjoyed it a lot more because it does. It is full of hope. It is full of heart. And in a time in this world, in a time in the genre of movies, that was something that we needed, is just a movie that is full of hopefulness, full of heart like that. And I think that a lot of people miss that. A lot of the people that wanted to hate this movie just went in there and completely missed the message of the heart and the hopefulness because they just wanted to hate the movie, things like that. And that's disappointing because it does have that. But again, there are some issues with it. I think the biggest problem with it that I have is in a time where we've had some amazing scores for films, that was the weakest part of the movie for me, was the score. In a time where we've had some amazing
I'm not a punk. This whole like punk rock, I don't like it's not that I don't like rock. I like selective rock songs that'll catch my attention and I'll listen to them. I think this, like I said before, I agree. The score is not good. The score was the music choice. I don't think Superman as a character resonates very well with punk rock as a genre of music.
I mean, the needle drops weren't terrible in my opinion, but the score, like I said even before the movie came out, that they should not use the John Williams score. I said that, like, they should not even touch the John Williams score because that is of the old Superman. Like that was one of the things I appreciated of what Zack Snyder did was, hey, they created a new score for Henry Cavill's Superman and they utilized it. They brought in Hans Zimmer, who is an amazing composer, and they did that. I thought they should have done the same thing with this Superman. Create a new score, and part of the score, there are moments in it that are like, hey, that is a new sound, that is a new score, that's what they should use, a new theme for Superman. But they don't stick to it. They move back into the genre, and I'm just like, so there's moments like, yeah. But the VFX, are not great in the movie, and some of the cinematography decisions aren't great, and some of the acting choices weren't great with like Lombard, and just some moments throughout the movie.
You have the dad moment too, where it's you could argue the dad moment. You could even like headcanon it in a way where you could make it a good decision in your mind, not you specifically, but as far as like an idea of what the film is offering. But then when you hear James Gunn talk about it, it doesn't sound like that comes from anywhere of like a story point of view. It kind of comes from a place, because I've seen the interview he talked about that the fucking Jor-El thing. So that kind of sounds like he just kind of wanted to just do something different, just to do it to be different. It's like, well, then that's bad. That makes technically that would make you any better than Zack Snyder, because I think Zack Snyder was doing the same things too. He was just trying to do things to kind of stand out from the norm, which can work depending on the person that's receiving the movie. But if you're gonna make these decisions about Jor-El, have it actually matter in the story. Like, don't just have it be a thing where it's like, well, I just kind of want to do it this way because reasons. It's like, well, that's a bummer, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think story-wise, it did work story-wise, because ultimately you wanted to get to the point where Superman accepted that he isn't Kryptonian, he's a human, and he had to accept the fact that who he believed that he was always sent to Earth for a reason, that no, he was raised as a human and he's here because he has humanity, and that's why he is how he is, that whole aspect. So there was a reason for it. I just don't think James Gunn probably explained it well enough when he was in interviews, but was it the best decision to do it that way and not dive into it more? Probably not.
Yeah, because you can make that decision work, because there's versions of Jor-El comic book wise and even TV show wise where he's not this like the version that people saw in Man of Steel. I liked what's crazy. I'm not the hugest fan of that movie, but I did like Russell Crowe when he was playing Jor-El in that movie. He did a fantastic job. No, because I think that's the version of Jor-El that people have in their brains. He's this guy that sent Clark to Earth to be this beacon of hope and savior and everything. If you want to try it that other way, like James Gunn has, there's, like you said before, you gotta go into that a little bit more. It just kind of felt like it was done for shock value to kind of. It's the same thing that Rian Johnson did in Star Wars, where it says Luke is not the guy you remember. He's subverting your expectations. Well, you got it. And what's crazy with Last Jedi, he actually did subvert expectations. That was a horrible decision, as we've seen now, coming through these many years. I just hope that they're gonna do the decisions for the DC movies. Let's go into them a little bit more. I might not like it. You might not like it. You might enjoy it. I might like it, but that way you get the explanation for it. It's not like, well, this is just kind of done for shock value. Well, that's all it's done for. There's no substance to that. That's not good. But like I said before, Peacemaker season 2, you said you enjoyed that for the most part.
Yeah.
So coming up for this year for the DCU, you have Supergirl, Clayface, and Lanterns. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
did you like the Supergirl trailer?
I did enjoy the Supergirl trailer. I think some people were expecting it to be something like outrageously crazy.
I have a hot take. I think it might be better than Superman. I think it'll actually be a better movie.
I think it's possible. I do. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's possible that it could be a better movie. I think that Craig Gillespie is a very good director. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the movie Cruella, but it was a good and well-directed film. And I've seen him direct other TV shows. Like, he is a good director. Anna Aguirre, who wrote the movie, she's a hell of a writer. So yeah, I mean, I sit here and I say, look, I think this has the potential. And Millie Alcock is a fantastic actress. She was fantastic on House of the Dragon. I'm one of those people that whenever I was watching House of the Dragon, I was pissed off whenever they changed the actress to being an older version of that character. I was like, what are you doing? Like, just age her up. Like, come on, don't get rid of her. So, like, she's a great actress. But yeah, I think it has a potential to be a better movie than Superman. Does that mean it's going to transition to box office? I don't think it will. And I'm going to say this because I know how everything is going one, politically, and two, how everything's moving in the world. The female-led films just don't do great. I mean, you take specifically the superhero films. I mean,
Mhm.
you take a look. I get that Captain Marvel back in 2019 made $1 billion. I get that, but
Mhm.
you take a look at what the Marvels did. It made what, like
It's
200
their lowest
million,
grossing movie. It
100
was their
million.
lowest grossing performing movie since 2008's Incredible Hulk. That guys, what's crazy is that's when the MCU first started. They shouldn't. You shouldn't even have movies having that accolade
Yeah,
that late into your film universe. Oh, Black Widow, despite day and day release, that
yeah,
one didn't do good either. Like out literally outside of Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, those are just the exceptions to the rule. And Captain Marvel's success was pure luck. That's not because movie quality. That movie stinks. Wonder Woman, I think, generally was a deep or a good movie. I
yeah.
think that one earned it with its box office. But outside of the exceptions to the rule, I don't. It's not just superhero. It's not even just female superhero movies. The movie landscape itself, movies are barely breaking even. They're barely bringing
Hmm.
profit. It's fucking a distant future for a lot of these movies. Unless you're talking about video on demand and streaming, which we don't know those numbers, so studios could be lying to us. Like the movie landscape is not good. Like
Yeah.
when Supergirl comes out, let's say it makes less than Superman. Let's say it makes like $400 million. Would I think that's good? No, because the amount of money invested into it in marketing would be not. Maybe Superman's success is just Superman's success, and that doesn't translate to Supergirl because what the executives are thinking, pretty sure you would probably think this too. They're thinking, okay, Superman did this, that means Supergirl will do better. No, there's no reason to believe that given our current landscape. Like you said,
Yeah.
our current landscape would not imply that. Our current landscape actually implies Supergirl will probably do less money because look at the Sony universe, not exactly a one-on-one comparison, but Sony thought if they just keep making more Spider-Man villain-led movies, they'll do as well as Venom. The Venom movies had diminishing returns, but they performed relatively okay.
Yeah.
That's just Venom's success. That wasn't Madam Web's success. That wasn't Morbius' success. And that wasn't Craven's success. And those movies all failed. So if their logic is, hey, this movie will perform better than Superman because it's the next one, it's like, no, it's probably going to perform less. That's just kind of how the landscape works. Superman is going to be a moneymaker, even it might not be profitable. This will be a moneymaker. Supergirl, like I said before, probably not, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll do decent at the box office. I think people are curious about a few things with DC. I think Superman did well enough to keep people interested and pique their interest enough. I do think that it'll make decent money. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to make that. I don't think it's going to make more than the 617 that Superman made. Can it hit that 600? I think it has the potential if the movie is good and it gets strong word of mouth. I think it could. I think also it helps having crypto in it. Now, if you know the Woman of Tomorrow story,
But Tom King,
also,
yeah.
yeah, you may know that, hey, having crypto in it may be a detriment to it because, well,
Have a good day, Orange Avenger.
uh,
Movie Talk says enjoying the convo. Oh, thank you.
yeah,
Slav is a great guest. Do you know this person?
I do. Yeah.
Is that your co-host on your show?
No. Yeah. No, he's a buddy of mine. I've been on his
Okay.
show and stuff like that. Yeah.
Little bias there. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Movie Talk. I'm joking. I'm joking.
But yeah, I think that there's a possibility that Supergirl makes decent money. I think it can be profitable because I think rumor has it that the budget for it's probably around 150, 175. So
Yeah.
you're looking at it probably needs to make about 550 to be profitable. I think it has the potential of doing that. But I think people need to understand and they need to grasp this, especially the quote unquote haters of James Gunn and DC Studios right now. What they need to understand is Warner Brothers and DC Studios are in this for the long haul. They understand that these first few movies aren't about making a quick buck. It's about reestablishing DC and gaining confidence from the audience. So, Superman not making $1 billion, not making $900 million, that is okay because what it did was it gained fan appreciation and audience appreciation. And you can see that in all these fan awards, all these accolades that it has received since it released. People love the movie. You see all of the audience scores are up high. People enjoyed the movie. No, it didn't make a shit ton of money at the box office. But when it comes to streaming, when it comes to digital sales, when it comes to Blu-ray sales and DVD sales, it did really, really well. Same thing I think you're going to see with Supergirl as well. As long as it's a good film, you're going to see something similar. It's going to do well at the box office, but I think when it comes to streaming and Blu-ray sales and people enjoying it, you're going to see it jump up. And then once you start to see Batman and Man of Tomorrow and things like those other movies, that's when the box office is really going to start going up. It's when you're going to start to see the sequels and the bigger characters. That's when the box office is going to jump up higher and higher. That's just how it works. It happened with Marvel. It's going to happen with DC. You just have to reestablish the universe. People think, oh, they should be making $1 billion right now. Well, no, it's a brand new universe. You have to reestablish things. Not to mention that the genre in itself is in a very, very low place. 2023, the average box office for comic book movies was less than $400 million. In 2024, it was $450 million. That was the average box office take for comic book movies. It is at the lowest that it's been in 15 years. So, yeah, like nobody cares. I'm not going to say nobody cares, but people don't care about comic book movies like they used to.
And I've told people that, like, DC choosing to have a brand new cinematic universe start in 2025, barring if people think Superman did well box office wise or not. The next point that I'll make is it's kind of like too late to do that. They kind of missed the window on cashing out on when it was at its peak many years ago. That's why we talked about earlier. They should have ended the DCEU years ago if they wanted to have that level of success, because we're at this point now where comic book movies, I personally think, like you said, are only going to make max in my opinion $500-600 million, like where Superman is. And so, like, it would be Brave New World and Superman would be the marquee. So Brave New World, complete disaster, made like what, 319, 320. Superman made 616. That is, I think, your lowest and your average right now. And unless something is like an event level movie, it's
like your Avengers.
Yeah, that's it. Like, unless it's Spider-Man, Avengers, or a Batman movie, because the last one did make 720, so that broke out of the Superman mold I just placed out there. Unless it's those kind of characters coming out, that's the thing. You would have to tone down your budgets then, because people understand, like you said before, and it's not superhero movie fatigue as far as more like consumer habits change, right? It's just not the newest thing anymore. It's like a honeymoon phase when you have, like, with your significant other, if you guys are married out there, it's all, rainbows and sunshines when things first start. It's the newest thing. You're checking it out. You're loving it. But when you get like 4 or 5 seasons deep in a show, you don't really have that same kind of enthusiasm as you did when you first started. And that's fine. That's a fine thing. Every genre goes through that. This notion that superhero movies were never going to go through that it's like we're talking to 5-year-old kids. You tell your kids this too. You have kids, you tell them this, honey, this is a phase. You're going to grow out of it. They're like, Daddy, no, I'm never going to do it. It happens. People, I'm not saying they grew out of it. You just don't think of it the same way you used to. You just don't. I'll ask people, like you said, do you go and watch these movies opening weekend like you used to? They're like, no. Reasons. Well, I have kids now. I don't feel it's the same. Yeah, that happens with every franchise ever in existence. This notion that superhero movies were never going to have that, you're stupid. You're dumb. This is a thing of life. This is a fact of life. You can't escape these things. Comic book movies, we're always going to experience that. DC has always experienced that, so they're used to that. Marvel's going through withdrawals right now. Why is our movies not making $1 billion? We're in 2025. You're 35 films deep. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Bring everyone back. Doomsday. All right. Okay. So, like I said before, with Supergirl and that movie, that's why I think it's only going to do like max $400 million, because this is just the landscape we're in right now. Now, like I said before, comes down to budget, comes down to marketing. They need to kind of cut back. Clayface had that. They knew that was Clayface. They're not spending that much money on Clayface, so it's going to be easier to make a profit on Clayface with the amount of money they're spending potentially.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing with Clayface, I mean, rumor has it it's like $60 million they spent on making that. I think it's going to be closer to 100, but regardless, I mean, even that's not crazy. Right now we're seeing a big resurgence in horror films right now. I mean, you take a look at what just happened with Weapons, with Sinners, and things like that when it comes to Warner Brothers, and that there's this big love for horror centric films, and that's what Clayface is. It's a body horror film. So if they market it well, if they market it as a horror film, this movie can make 200, 250, $300 million, like say something like Sinners did. And that would be a big win for DC Studios. Does that guarantee it's going to make that much money? No, but if it is closer to that, like 50, $60 million, you're looking at just needing to make like 200 million to be profitable, which is great. So yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing. If they can have a couple 150, $200 million films, and then have a couple 60 to $70 million films and go back and forth between that, that's how you kind of negate those costs for those higher budget films. And you're going to see, it's not going to be huge profit, but it's going to be a little profit here and there. And that's how you can stay afloat as a studio. And that's why I like seeing someone like Peter Safran there, because he understands that. And he understands those horror genre films as well, because that's kind of where he came from. So it kind of makes sense.
All right. Last few things I'll ask you before we head out is, the first thing is, do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about for 2026 so far?
Yeah, I actually have a book coming out that I'd like to talk about. I wrote a book that covers DC, the DCEU, from basically 2009 up until the end of the
Good
DCEU,
Lord. Okay.
where it covers basically what happened. It's how did it get started to how did it end, and it is awesome. It is insightful. Look, it's not going to cover every single intricate part of it, because the book would be way too too big.
You'd actually have an omnibus, literally,
Yeah.
age-wise, yeah.
But it covers the major parts of it. I've been working on it for about 3 years. Right now, I actually have somebody proofreading it. So I've done 2 passes myself. It's now being proofread. I want to get it. I have a date in mind when I want to have it come out, but yeah, I don't have a release date for it yet. Here's the cool thing. You can go to slavsfreetalk.com, and I do have a little membership area there that you can pay $3.99, I think it is, and you can go there to help support me in finishing this. It's $3.99, and you can see updates on it. You can see removed chapters. I have the prologue on there. I have different things that you can see what it's all about on there. So it's just to help support, get the book finished and completed, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's there. slavsfreetalk.com, and you can find, it's called the Snyderverse Effect right there. So yep.
Last thing I'll ask you is, do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular, and anything else you want to say before we head out?
Shout outs. Honestly, Movie Talk Now, who's on here, who's in there, he's a great guy. You should check him out. He's got a great channel. He's doing some great things over there. Also, Movie Hubbub. He's been doing some really cool things on his channel, calling out some of the haters when it comes to DC. He's a lot of fun. So if you like to laugh, he's great. But that's about it. Yeah, and honestly, I want to shout out you, man. You hit me up, and I didn't know about you. And when you hit me up, I checked out your channel. You're doing some great things yourself. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. And it's crazy. It sucks that Warner Bros. Is being bought by Netflix. Now these people think that the Snyderverse is gonna come back.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about that next time.
Yeah, and that's the worst part about all that. It's like, God, because in their mind, they're like, oh my God, we finally got the company to bring our universe back. And it's like, oh God. Okay, just before we head out, one last thing, guys. Netflix is already going to buy Warner Brothers for almost, I shit you not, $100 billion. Pretty much almost $100 billion, right? Yeah. This notion that they're going to spend any more money on top of that for any of that, just in the immediate future, you would be waiting, a very long time. And then by the time that would come around, that's not even worth it as a window to do that. Just business wise, it makes no sense to do right now, logically at all, with the current state of DC, which they have their DCU that they're doing right now, cinematic wise. And it wouldn't make sense financially because they're about to spend almost close to near $90 billion to buy this company. This all investment will work. If you're spending that much money, they're not going to be making any more big moves for a while. They're going to spend, guys, all cash. This ain't stock trading or that bullshit. They're getting this all cash. So, and just point out how much money you would need to put together to get that thing you want. That would cost at least minimally $300 million. No, if I was no, my money is tied in this. Sorry, and Netflix is rich. No, I'm wrong, but if I'm buying you for $90 billion, I don't want to spend any more money. You know, I got to have my investments pay off first.
And think about it this way: most people who want to see it probably already have Netflix, and they probably aren't going to put it in theaters. You'd probably just put it on Netflix because that's how Netflix is. But maybe they would put it in theaters and get their money back. Who knows? Their whole theatrical ideas are so bizarre. Like I just don't.
Yeah, that'll be another episode we can when we get into all that because that's just fucking wild. So, yep. Just want to say it's awesome to have Slav's free talk on for the first time. Awesome to have a conversation with you. Can't wait to have you on again. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK